We'll see. Well, it's Robin here from Hooking Outside the Lines. If you're watching live, welcome, and thank you for being patient. If you are not watching live, thank you for finding me and watching wherever you are watching from. And I already realized I'm missing scissors. I always think I have everything I need, and then there's always something else. But yeah, so we're learning how to do YouTube videos. I'm going to be punching on my piece. I have some stuff to show you. Yeah, people are having trouble finding me. I'm sorry. I'm going to try one more thing. Please bear with me, and I will edit this, edit the video, hopefully, so nobody else has to watch through this mumbling of me. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we are going to try again. So welcome. I am punching on a new piece. It's Friday afternoon. I'm grateful it's Friday. It's kind of a gray day here in Ottawa, but we've had some warm weather, so it's been feeling good. I'm going to show you some of my pieces, my colors. The first one I want to share, though, I'm going to, not yet, is this one that I was playing with last weekend. I made it all in a weekend. And I had so much fun, and I just want to show everybody all, and it can go this way actually, all the different ways that you can use your punch needle and or your rug hook, and different materials. It doesn't have to be wool yarn. It doesn't have to be wool fabric strips. It could be a real combination of things. So this is just an example of that. I have wool fabric in here and yarn. I have sari silk. This beautiful is sari silk remnants that they make into almost like a skein of yarn, but it's silk. I have reverse punching, which we'll talk about. I have stretch velvet that I hooked. I prefer to hook than to punch with stretch velvet, but almost everything else is punched with my Oxford punch. This fun green little wiggly piece is called standing wool in the textile art world. It is literally kind of standing up. You take a width of wool and you wiggle it, and I sewed it together so that it will stay like this. And then I stitched it to my backing fabric, which in this case is monk's cloth. And the whole piece is stapled permanently to a canvas, because then it's ready to display, it's ready to hang, and it is a really 3D piece. And I purposely, in case anybody's out there watching going, why is it all wonky? It was purposely wonky. I wanted to not worry about these triangles all matching. I wanted the thickness of things to not be all the same. I really wanted to embrace the wonkiness and the playfulness of it. I didn't want to get out rulers and measure the distance. I didn't want to worry about being precise. That was my goal last weekend, was just really to play with it. And this piece is a sample piece for my upcoming hooking in August. Pre-sale tickets are on now. So if you're watching and you're like, oh, I'd love to come and work with me and my friends, come to Ottawa this August. On the Saturday, on the 22nd of August, we have a hook-in from 10 to 3, and we're going to have so much fun. There's always more than just hooking and hanging out. That is the base of it, though. And the day before that, on the Friday, because we hosted a hook-in like that last year and it sold out, and we're doing it again. But people asked for a workshop as well. So on the Friday before the day of the hook-in, my friend Lara and I, she did a totally different piece, but again, under the playfulness idea. And she did like a living room. So you have to go check hookingoutsidethelines.com, and you can see under workshops, it's called Permission to Play. And we will co-teach it. Lara and I will co-teach it. We will cover all of these and more of what you can do with your hook and or your punch, what materials you might want to play with. And we are going to bring a yarn buffet to for people to be able to sample and try things and not have to invest in a whole bunch of stuff, and play with it so that you'll learn like, oh, I like this or I don't like this. And there's always a variety, like sometimes we like working with certain materials and sometimes we don't, and it's all okay. But sometimes we don't know until we try. So August 21st will be an in-person in Ottawa, Permission to Play. I will at some point likely do an online version, but not right away. Because that piece is a fun opportunity to get together and work. I did want to show you something else. I feel like today's a little bit of show and tell too. I made espadrilles. I always find that word kind of a funny word because in French, espadrille is a word for shoe, but espadrilles is sort of a borrowed word from Spanish. These kind of a special sole that is made of jute. This one has a plastic base to it, but often they are just made of jute. Are a very popular type of shoe in Spain and in southern France, and have been made for many, many years. And I thought I wanted to punch mine, so this top has been punched and then sewn on with a blanket stitch, similar to how they have done it again for hundreds of years, minus the punching. Um, and I think I'm gonna teach a class on that because I we did it in the creativity club, and some people have come up with beautiful, beautiful espadrilles of their own. And I will tell you where you can buy these. They're from a company named okay, I can't remember the company at the moment. Anyway, I will find it. They have a store in Canada and they have a store in the US. So wherever you are, you could order your size that you need, and then we custom fit our top to it, and it could be hooked or it could be punched. So let me know in the comments if you're watching this. Would you want a course on how to make espadrilles? And you can make your own custom shoes, kind of fun to do. And now I want to get to work on my piece that I started last week that I didn't really start. I got all the yarn ready and I stretched it out in the studio live. I'm just going to move my camera so hopefully you can see the piece better because you get to see the mess behind as well. So here is my rooster. There we go. You can see more of it. This is half of it again. Remember, it didn't fit all on one. Somebody asked me too about the cover. I do cover these because this has the gripper strips underneath and they're very sharp, especially the corners, and you will either scratch your arms if you're resting your arms here if you don't cover it with something, or even your clothes if you are leaning on it. And my rooster, you can barely see him right now, but this is sort of part of him and his head and his wild hairdo. And these are the geraniums because it's a rooster in geraniums. And I'm going to start with this color because I'm just excited about this color. And I'm going to show you my kit. I think I'm going to do these in a 10. Actually, I'm going to do it in 13. So this is a fine yarn. This is Violet Jade Fine in the fluorescent pink. That's not what it's called, though. I call it fluorescent pink. It is called Party Pink. And I always keep my labels stuck in here after winding them into a cake. So they come like this. This is called a skein of yarn, and it keeps it nice and relaxed. The yarn is not in a tight-knit ball, depending on when you use it. If it's left like this for years and years, you will find that the center of it gets very crinkled, and it remembers that crinkle. So leaving it in a skein kind of until you're almost ready to use or think you use it is not a bad idea, in my opinion. And then I stick this in so I remember what color it is if I have lots of colors. And I also, if you're wondering what all the punch needles are for, I did do a previous video on the sizes and what they mean. And I may have forgotten. I feel like after I did that, I forgot to show you where you can see. So if you have just one needle and you're like, how do I know what size it is on the new one. So anything made since 2025, they are etched. Let me see here if the lighting, they are etched right on the metal here. You don't feel anything, but they are in there and it will say, so this one says 8R, so that's 8 regular. And on these smaller ones, it has it there, and that is the backwards for you, 13F, so 13 fine. The original and the ones sort of made before 2025, they are imprinted on here. So we'll have the number of the size right imprinted on the wood at the top here. And how you can always tell if you have a regular or fine is all of the fines have this eyelet. Excuse me, this eyelet at the top. So if you have one that has an eyelet, you know it's a fine if you have nothing to compare it to, because you can see obviously when you have something to compare it to, which one is obviously much thicker. And the geranium, so I'm going to do the pink with the fine, and then I'm going to try with the sari silk with the regular. I will probably do a 10 regular and we'll see how that goes. And when I'm using alternate fibers like this, it's always a bit of an experiment, and that's okay. Like you experiment. To me, that's what it's all about. When you're using the same material, it's consistent. You know what to expect and how it's going to behave. But when it's new stuff, we don't always know. So I'm threading my punch needle. And just to show you, I did that quickly. I go through the eyelet from the back, so the flat side. The front side is the side with the opening. And then I go through again the front of this to the back. Then I just pull a good bit, rest it over the opening, and give it a bit of a pull. Pull, and it will pop in there very easily. You don't have to worry about trying to shove it in. It pops in. And if it doesn't, just go kind of back and forth until it slides into that groove and you have threaded your needle. And here, just to show, you don't need a whole long tail because that eventually will get trimmed off anyway. That is excess. So I like to not waste anything. And so I leave very short tail. Now I'm going to see if I can move this over for you so that you have the best view. And I'm also going to have to grab some scissors because, of course, I started this without having my scissors handy. These are the closest. So they are bigger than I would normally recommend, but they will do. And yeah, so I'm going to try these two geraniums. I want them that bright pink that you see when you go in the spring and you go into those big garden centers and they just have like, I don't know, feels like acres of them. And it almost looks fluorescent to me. And as a kid, that was my favorite. So I'm just going to play. I'm not going to worry about all the lines being perfect. I do like to pull my tail under. Now, again, because I'm using the fine yarn and a fine needle, I'm going into every hole. And I think I'm going to try outlining. That is going to be my first, and we'll see if that gives the vision of what I'm hoping for this look. Now, if you're new to punching and you think, what is she doing? I am punching from the back and my loops are being created on the other side, which is kind of like magic to me. And I'm going to keep going around this other petal. And what I might do is fill in some of the petals and not some of the petals. I haven't, again, it's kind of an experiment and I want to play with it. I want to just see what happens and see what I like. So yeah, as a refresher for those of you, or if you're brand new to this and you're not sure, is I am punching and the opening of my needle, I call it the front of the needle. I always had that in the direction I want to go. So you'll see me turning the needle in different directions as I progress. And you punch all the way down. So you see my needle goes all the way to the base. And when I come up, I'm just coming up enough to get my tip of my needle out and then scooching along to the very next hole. And again, because this is sort of an experiment, I'm just following some lines without having to stop here. And I'm working on the back. That is one of the things that's different from traditional rug cooking, where in traditional rug cooking, we pull our loops up. We are, in this case, pushing them down. And our finished work, in this case anyway, sometimes the flat side is what you want. But in this case, and in traditional punching, the loopy side, the part underneath that is forming right now, that is your finished side. Another lesson, part of the beginner punching, is you want to have lots of yarn. You want no tension pulling on the back of your yarn out of your needle here, because even a slight bit tension, like if I got it caught on under my hand here and there's a little bit of pull, it will not be making my loops on the other side, or it will make inconsistent loops because it really needs to flow through this with zero tension. That is how the sort of magic of the punch needle works. And you don't need to go quickly. Speed is not necessary. I have done many miles of punching, so this is probably as fast as I go. I'm not in a hurry. And like I said, I'm not quite sure. Sometimes I might do two thicknesses. I'm not quite sure how much of this pink I want versus how much of the sari silk I'm going to put in there. So I might do a few more lines here and then And when I'm punching, like I said, I go in every hole, but I go in every other row. And of course, you have to estimate what that is when you're not going in straight lines because you're diagonally. So you can see a little bit of that monk's cloth poking through when you're filling it. So I'm going to fill in this one particular petal. And then when I filled it in, I'm going to pull it out. I'm cutting it. Normally I'd use my little scissors. And I'm just going to use this to push my tail to the other side because all the tails and the loops need to go on the same side. I'm going to lift it. Now, this is a bit of a pain when you're working with a big frame. So you can see up close what that looks like. And then underneath what that looks like. And it doesn't look like much right now, but you have the starting of the geranium petals. And I'm going to just experiment with putting some pink sari silk to see what that is like in there. I'm going to switch needles now. So put my fine needle aside. And this sari silk is, there's a lot going on in here. There's different pinks, so you can be as picky or not as you want. And I'm going to twist the skein. So you can see like some of it is orange, and this is a very thick piece. Oh, and that was hanging on by a thread. And then there's others that are sort of thinner pieces. And there's also seams. This is held together. It's obviously not one consistent long piece. It's held together with seams. So when you're punching, sometimes those seams do get in the way. I'm going to see if I can find a nice hot pink section. As you can see, I'm apparently in my pink phase at the moment. So I've unwound a little bit. And there is a seam right there. So I'm going to cut the seam out. I'm going to use this piece here. There's another seam there, but it's kind of smooth. So I might be okay to punch right through it. We'll see. And yeah, so right there, I have a couple of shades of the pink, which is what I want. I want a bit of variety. I'm going to cut this seam off at the end there. And this has no eyelet, so I don't have to worry about threading the eyelet. I go from the open side of my needle. And I push it back. And again, I give myself a nice long tail. Yeah, it might be a problem because again, you know how we talked about it has to go through it perfectly. Any of those places where it's going to catch, that is a problem with punching. So we'll see. We'll see. Sometimes I'm surprised. So yeah, as long as again, you can pull it through without it catching on anything. And you know what? All of this excess threads, which is fun sometimes, I'm just going to get rid of it right there because I know it'll just get caught in my needle over time. And we'll see if that solved that problem. I think it did. Nope. See, a lot of these threads are down here. So look at that bundle. There we go. You can use that in some other project if you want to keep them. So again, we don't need a big tail. And normally when we are punching with the regular punches and using a yarn, I would say 6 stitches per inch or 4 stitches. But because we are doing alternate fibers, excuse me, we might have to be do a little bit of trial and error. And even as we move along with the different types of silk that are in this one skein. So I'm going to go about every other hole, and I'm not going too close to my, like I don't have to rub right up against my fine hot pink there. I'm just going to, and I keep turning my needle. And we'll see what that looks like. Again, we don't know until we try with these things. I'm grabbing my thread, poking it, and then I'm poking that tail back to the other side. We will trim them on the other side. So that is one. I'm actually going to try the other end that I cut and see about that pink. Threading my needle again. And pulling back, and it just pops right in. And I'm even wondering now that I see it together, I might need to do some different values of color. And value is just the light or dark of something. And as much as I thought this pink would be, the texture would be enough variety to show it, you know, highlight the differences. Even punching from the back here, I'm feeling like it might be too similar. And one more. And when you're using the regular punch, it does cover more of the back, and that is perfectly normal. Okay, just because I'm so curious. Let's have a look on the other side. And if you have any questions, even if you're watching this when it's not live, if you put them in there, I will have a look every once in a while anyway. Oh, I'm not seeing it there. Let me move some things around. There we go. Hopefully that is, again. So our tails, I'm going to trim the tails of this silk so we can have a bit of a look. I would normally recommend smaller scissors. And I'm cutting it to the height of the loops. Actually, I'm quite happy with that. You have to use your imagination a little bit, but I do think I want to add a different value before I continue. I think I want a lighter. I feel like I'm going to need a lighter something, or even a gray, something to sort of show the petal from petal before I continue too much, and then use a variety of these pinks in there. But yeah, I'm torn. I might need a bit of a different color. And sometimes I use like a purple or something that just looks, and then only a thin line, and it looks more like a shadow line in between the petals than the petal itself. And that is what I'm thinking now when I look at that. I don't know. That is the exciting part of this for me, is those little surprises. Even when you think, oh, I know what color I'm going to do. Sorry. When it comes to actually doing it, we surprise ourselves and go, oh, yeah, I need something else. I will do, just because I have some nearby, but some green. I want to do a dark, or this green, I think, for my stem here. Where'd my fine needle go? And again, I would always recommend caking these if you can, or turning them into balls, because they will get into a unruly mess like this one has. But again, I will make it work. Oh, I said that too quickly. There we go. That is probably enough to get that stem. And sometimes just having a stem, actually, even having a little bit of green, I might put a little bit of green in there so that the petals don't all blend together. I don't know. If you have an opinion, feel free. I always invite opinions, but just be warned, I may not follow them. So I like to pull my tail out. And again, this is a fine yarn. I'm going to go every hole approximately. And you kind of have to, again, estimate, because I'm going on a diagonal across a square grid. So it's not necessarily every hole. Some of them it's diagonally, and you can pull apart threads of monk's cloth as well. Like you can go in between the weave as it is. And you also don't have to stay right on the line. I don't even stay on the line when I've drawn my own pattern. So why would I always try and stay on the line when I'm done somebody else's? And again, make sure you're not caught on anything. I'm going to go up and see what this is like next to that pink. If I use just a little bit here and there, and we'll have a look on the other side, because I can always pull it out. That's the beauty, or one of the beauties, of punch needle and rug hooking, is nothing is wasted. You can always pull it out. I can reuse this yarn if I'm not happy where it is, or I can pull out part of it. I'm just doing that little bit of a test like that. And again, I wouldn't normally turn it over this much once I get going, but as I'm figuring out how this is going to work, and I want to show you, I'm turning over this big frame. Yeah, I actually quite like that pink in there. So once you imagine, these do look like they're flopping a little bit, and that is normal because there's nothing, again, like next to them to hold them up. So once you have loops around it, you can kind of, what I call, poke in place, to get your line, if it's a line, straight up. And this line I could space out a little bit more, and you know, there's going to be lots more pink and sari silk around it. So that might be something I'll do as I move forward. And when I'm not sure, one of the best things I suggest to people is after you've punched a little bit, stand back. So if you can put it across the room and you have a big room, stand as far away from it as you can. Because when we're looking this close and working on it, that is not how we view the art. Whether it's going to be a rug on the floor or on the wall, we view it from a certain distance, and we should make decisions with that distance in mind, not with it super up close. So sometimes something up close is really kind of hideous. And so having that awareness to stand back. And for some reason, I don't know the technology behind it, but taking a photo of it and looking at it on a small screen, whether it's your computer or on your phone, gives us a different perspective. And again, sometimes helps us figure out what's working or what's not working, or what we want to tweak a little bit, or what we want to add. So yeah, I'm very happy with that pink. I do feel like I need to add a different, and actually just looking at my pile over here. So this was the pink sari silk that we used. And this is another one that I have that obviously is not open. And I'm kind of wondering now, just that value difference. You see, this is much lighter, this is darker. And then with a little bit of that green, just a little bit of the green in between some of the leaves, so that, you know, you can imagine leaves popping through. Oops, there goes a needle. Yeah, stay tuned. I'm excited. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free. Next week, I hope to be back. I think I'll do it in the morning next week because I have Friday afternoon. We have a hook-in. Yeah, and maybe there'll be more of this done so I can show you what I finally decided on and how the progress on the geraniums is going. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great weekend.